Well, hello again. I'm Powell Alexander Fraser Jr., and I'm here with Annelle Fraser, my mother, Annelle McCall Fraser, formerly. She's from Florence, South Carolina. In the last 4 segments, we've been going through interviewing her on her life from early days in the 1920s in Florence, South Carolina. We've gone up through the World War II and her meeting Dad in Clinton, South Carolina in 1945. I think somewhere right there, and so now we're going to sort of take it forward as they have they've met each other and now they are engaged to be married. So we're going to talk about the wedding, and then we're going to move into my sister and I. So that's where we're going to go. So with that, Mom, let's get rolling. So where you got married in Florence?
Florence, South Carolina. Married at the Presbyterian Church. Reception was at Brother's house out in the country. Brother was single, not married, and he had this big old country house, lovely place, but no furniture in the house. He was not married, and he had bought the place with a house on it.
And then, okay, so you did the wedding there, and
the wedding was at the
church, and then the reception out there.
That's right.
And that's just off the Darlington Highway.
That's
coming
right.
out of Florence. So
Mechanicsville Road.
And so from there, Dad's working as the head of the ROTC at Presbyterian College, and then I get born. Is that right? While you were there, 1949.
Right, but that was a little bit later. When I met my husband, he was living with the lady, the widow of the man that built the textile mills in that town of Clinton, 3 textile mills, in an elegant place out on the edge of town. And so when we were to be married,
this is Mrs. Bailey.
Mrs. Cad Bailey. And it was the same family that had built all the textile mills in Clinton, and the reason Clinton was that. And so she said, "Oh, well, you just come. There's nobody here, and I'm going to see Island all summer, and I'm gone a lot in the winter. So y'all just stay right here." So for a year we lived at Mrs. Bailey's, and then as any newlywed couple that want their own place, we eventually moved into town.
Okay, so then I'm born in Greenville, South Carolina, in 1949. You're coming back from Montreat to Clinton and didn't make it?
Stopped by the doctor's office on the way down, had a doctor's appointment that day in Greenville. We didn't have OBGYN people in Clinton. It was too small. And stopped by my doctor's over in, Dr. Guess was his name, over in Greenville, and he just looked at me. He said, "You want to have this baby today?" And I said, "Yeah, that'd be nice." And so he said, "Okay, I'll check in the hospital." And sure enough, Alec was born about 9 o'clock that night.
9 at night. All right, so then we live in Clinton for a while, and then you moved to Leavenworth, I think.
That's right, our first military base.
And so Dad went to the Command and Staff College at Fort Leavenworth. And then from there, he went to Maxwell Air Force Base.
That's right. He was assigned, when he got his assignment, they had to walk to the front of the auditorium. It was a theater. And when he got his assignment, he walked back down the aisle and he says, "There's been a mistake. I've been assigned to the air base and I'm infantry." He was indignant. And they said, "We know you are, but we want you to go teach those fellas."
So he went to the Air Force Command and Staff College to teach about Army things to the Air Force folks. And while you're there in Montgomery, Eloise
That's right.
Fraser, who is now Eloise Fraser Shepard, marrying Steve Shepard here in Atlanta, Georgia. So we're both. So from there, we live in Montgomery at Maxwell Air Force Base, and there's this little house that y'all moved into.
The first house we bought.
First house you bought.
It was $17,000. It was a brick house. Had 3 bedrooms and 2 baths. That's pretty good for $17,000.
You don't get that
No,
for an apartment.
it was a nice house. Nice house.
So where did we go from there? So you got Eloise and me starting to grow up now. So we went to Germany from there, I think.
Yes, we got assigned to Heidelberg.
Heidelberg, Germany, and
and the way we got assigned to Heidelberg, Dad would hop on a plane in Greenville, and a military plane, and go up to Washington, walk through the assignment branch, and he said, "My name's Fraser. When it comes up, I want to go to Europe," because he knew I wanted to go to Europe.
So you went to Germany and were there a few years, and from there went back to Fort Carson.
Oh, now I have Colorado. To write this down.
I know. And then from there
I think in all fairness, y'all let me say I'm 90 years old.
Okay, so mom is 90 going on 70. So this 90 thing is not a very good excuse because she remembers all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. So, okay, so we went to, we're not going to go into the details and all of this. We went to Fort Carson, Colorado, where Dad was a regimental commander, and then to the Army War College in Carlisle, then to Taiwan, where he was a military advisor to Chiang Kai-shek's group. And while you were there, you hosted Madam
That's
Chiang
right.
Kai-shek.
I asked her if she would come and have lunch with the American wives. There were about 100 American wives there, and engaged the military club for a luncheon, and she came, a very gracious person. And
so you had a good lunch. I just remember seeing pictures of everybody.
Well,
You're wearing gloves.
It was an interesting thing because in my small town of Florence, South Carolina, one of the big things was that she came. She had a connection with Dr. Frank Price, who was a beloved missionary in China for many, many years, Presbyterian. And she knew that Dr. Frank Price, when he retired, lived in Florence and kept up with him through the years. And so when I met her the first time, she said, "Mrs. Fraser, I know somebody from your hometown." And I said, "Madame, you certainly do know somebody, and that's why I'm so fascinated to be with you today, because you sent a telegram every year to that person in my hometown that knew you, and the next day it was always in print in the newspaper. They copied it in the newspaper, and that tickled her no end." It was a nice thing that I was able to say. But old Dr. Frank Price was a wonderful, wonderful person.
So we moved back from Taiwan. Dad went back to the Pentagon, and then he retired from the Pentagon, went down to be Director of Development at Presbyterian College, back there to Clinton again. And then from there, he went up to be the president of King College in Kingsport, Tennessee. Bristol, Tennessee, and then retired from there down to Hilton Head, South Carolina. I want to go back to a story that Eloise and I remember of the first showing of Gone with the Wind in Florence. And as you've told us, schools got out. It was the first color movie that you recall seeing. And so, do we have it right? They shut schools down so you could watch Gone with the Wind, or
no? We just left early.
No, you just left early. Oh, you played hooky.
Well, I don't think they
so. Eloise and I were never able to play hooky in any of our schools, but had we known our mother did that, it might
too
be
bad you
somewhat
weren't sharp enough.
Yeah, we weren't sharp enough to do that. Until now, you've never explained that part of the story. So we are, and then you're all at Hilton Head, South Carolina, and so I guess we can take it on. Dad passed away in 1996, and then you came up here not long after that, came up here to Lynbrook in Atlanta, where Eloise and I are living, and we get to join you here at Lynbrook.
And Lynbrook is a retirement home for elderly people.
So we have now been through 5 segments that we're going to post on YouTube, so that future generations, as they come along, can see great-great-great-grandmother and get a feel for what life was like back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and from the small town of Florence, South Carolina, all the way up through the modern Hilton Head up here to Atlanta in a great retirement home. But Mom has had a wonderful opportunity to do so many things for so many people, and as you can see in listening to all of these things, that she's a saint in a lot of different ways. So we just want to say thanks. We may add some more segments like this on and bring in some other family members, but this is a segment that we're trying to document one of the great members of our family. And so with that, Mom, we'll just wrap this one up and we'll come back and do some more later.
Well, I commend you for making memories.
All right.